has of course, that knee that he re-bruised in the Minnesota game. We feel like that he's probably as well off as he was after the Atlanta game, which would mean that he would probably be out there Sunday, hobbled some, but he should be playing well. Now, Roger Staubach is very doubtful for the game. I would say he is questionable. He's still in the hospital with the infected elbow, and hopefully we will be able to get the infection out very quickly, but I don't think we can take the risk of hitting it again and bruising it again. So I would say that he will probably be out of this ball game as far as playing, and that Bob Belden would be activated to back up Martin in case of injury.
Tom, last Sunday was the most lopsided score you've had in a long time, but what is your general feeling of the ball club this week?
It is true that the school district did deny teachers a planning period, and of course Senate Bill 199 says without any qualifications that teachers shall have the planning period. However, the school district was not wrong in protecting the safety and the welfare of students and staff by assigning teachers to non-instructional activities during their planning period during the emergency.
Should teachers be assigned to non-instructional duties during emergencies?
Teachers must have a planning period. This is essential to a quality program, and we want to protect that right for teachers to have an uninterrupted planning period. However, I think our teachers would agree that in the event of an emergency, then we must call upon all hands and all staff members to assist us during that time in order to protect children and youth in our charge.
Well, naturally, when you get beat as bad as we got beat in Minnesota, you got to be very disappointed, and it's very hard for a club to shake it off just very quickly. I mean, if you're a competitor and want to win, it stays with you a little while. But I think our club will come back. We're going into against an exceptional good football team in Kansas City this week. We do have some injury problems, but we have a lot of strength in our football team. I think our running has been as good as I've ever seen it, and our defense has played just about as well as I've ever seen it at times. And so these are very strong points that I think will carry us on in the future.
Is there anything you could say about your passing offense, why it has not been able to generate the necessary movement?
Well, one of the big problems offensively, and this is our basic problem offense, is our passing game has not lived up to what it has in the past. We've led the National League for so many years, throwing the football and yardage and so on, and this is missing in our offense. It stems basically back into the quarterback situation with Craig, and as you remember earlier, he wasn't throwing well. We had to put him on the bench a little while. Then he started throwing well again, and he got injured, and now he's not able to set up and throw the way he should be. And so this is our basic problem. But I think it's overall. I think our receivers need to come up to a higher standard than they've performed so far. Our protection can improve, as it always can. So it's an overall thing, and I think this will improve our team more than anything else if our offense does come back, pass-wise.
What's the enthusiasm on the squad this year under Coach Carlin?
Well, the overall enthusiasm is taking a great boost through the coaches themselves. They kind of generate a overall enthusiasm which perpetuates through the team, and it's real great this season. We have high hopes for the whole entire season.
Ronnie, I'd like to ask you one more question. How does Coach Carlin fit the mold of the new type of coach as approaching the ever-changing college student?
Well, of course, we all have a great deal of respect for Coach Carlin up here. He's not typically the stereotype coach. He's a fairly intelligent. Well, he's extremely intelligent. He's a good administrator. He knows what he's doing. He's definitely one of the new breed of coaches. I suppose you can compare him to a young Darrell Royal.
The chairman of the Tarrant County Democratic Party, J.D. Tommy Jr., has refused a Republican challenge for local debates. At a news conference this morning at the Press Club at Fort Worth, Dr. Tommy, with tongue-in-cheek, quashed any hopes of the Republicans to debate.
The question of debates is quite simple. In view of the fact that our Democratic candidates are already known, and it's so typical of the tight money, high interest party, when they're losing, if they take the crybaby approach of let's debate. It's the feeling of the Democratic candidates there's no point in giving these members of the local Depression Party free advertising and further opportunities to twist the facts for which they are all so well known. Frankly, I would just assume they would buy their space on the radio, on TV, and in the news media and the newspapers like everyone else.
Dr. Tommy did say if the Democrats were running behind, he too would be asking for debates with the Republicans. But the Democratic chairman said no debates would take place unless the Republicans send in their first string, the president and the vice president. Jim Green, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
Stopped the car at Dow Rock and Highway 67, where he, after several requests, they finally alighted from the car and let Dwayne tell you from there about what happened.
After the subject got out of the car, I had them place their hands on the back of their station wagon that they were driving and proceeded to search them. While I was searching one of them, the other one jumped me, tried to take my rifle from me, and while fighting with him, the other one came to help him. At that time, I shot the one that was trying to get my rifle. The other one knocked me to the ground, knocked my glasses, tie off, and I shot him then in the arm.
Has this ever happened to you before?
No, it hasn't.
I don't find nationally a whole lot of interest in Metro anyway. There have been surprisingly few cities that and areas that have undertaken it, and they not with overwhelming success, in my judgment. And one of the things that Metro does is that it further takes the decision-making of government away from the individual person. It has been my thesis for a long time that the city government ought to be, and in most instances is, the most responsive level of government to the will and desires of the people. And as the governmental structure gets larger and larger, it becomes less and less responsive. And so for that reason, if for none other, I'm not particularly in favor of Metro. And I think as a practical matter, it's not going to come about in this locale, and I don't want to see it come about.
Well, there are some signs of sluggishness in the economy, and of course we're distressed at the unemployment level as the
President has indicated he's not satisfied as long as one man is out of work. But I think we're going to bottom out. I think there's every basis for confidence in the future. And I think this administration has handled with great restraint the problem of ever-rising interest costs. Interest costs have actually come down, and I think other costs will begin to follow.
Well, Jim, we think we're winning it, but we have to admit that it's coming along slowly. We'd like to see it level off faster than it has, of course. I'd just make the point, and I'm not really fresh on these new statistics because I've been traveling for the last 10 days, but I just make the point that I think if you look into the index, you'll find that both last month's increase as well as this is in the agricultural sector, not the industrial sector. I believe I'm right on that. And of course, we would hope that we can get that leveled off. That's the effort. We have made a lot of progress in our fight against inflation, but we still have further to go, to be sure.
It was hard to think about anything, but what was going through your mind at the time?
Just try to keep him from getting that rifle.
Were you afraid?
Yes, sir.
How many yards did you pick up?
I believe it was about 170.
Now, I understand there were a couple of runs actually called back. You think maybe you're going to go over 200 sometime this year?
I don't know. I'd like to, but I thought I was real fortunate to get that many yards. Our blocking was excellent, and all I had to do was run with the ball. And if our blocking stays like it was against A&M, I could get over 200 yards, but we'll just have to wait and see, I guess.
You know, James, many of the sports writers who went, including Pat Truly, said that one of the big things was the difference in spirit, the attack, the aggressiveness of the people. How about this?
Yeah, this is bound to be a big factor. We felt we were ready for the game. We always like to play the Aggies. You don't have to have any pep talks to get up for A&M. And you could just feel the electricity in the dressing room before the ball game, especially at half. We knew we were getting things together, and it was just a matter of going out and doing what we had to do.
How about the rest of the season now?
Well, as you know, all the Southwest Conference teams, any one could beat another one on any given Saturday. So we feel that we have a lot better team than we started out with, and we finally got everything rolling, and we feel that we're going to come in real high in the standings.
There are several stages to every election. The first, of course, is name identification. The political tactics of each side proceed through the predetermined steps straight to the election. At this stage, getting down to the wire, it's challenge time. Now that's the point at which the out party, in this case the Republicans, challenges the in party to debates on the issues. Running true to form, Tarrant County GOP Chairman Roger Hunsaker called a news conference this morning to issue such a challenge.
Tarrant County Republican legislative candidates believe that the voters have a right to know the issues and where all candidates stand on these issues. This is the only way we can have intelligent voting by our citizens. To further this goal, all of the GOP legislative candidates are issuing this morning by telegram challenges to their Democrat opponents to appear in a debate to inform the public of their views. These telegrams read in part, I sincerely urge you to accept this invitation to appear with me at a meeting open to the press and all concerned citizens, and along with all other contested legislative candidates, for the purpose of informing the voters of our positions on the important issues of this campaign, such as the rising crime rate, soaring state spending, skyrocketing taxes, and campus violence.
Some of the candidates said this morning that they not only have had no chance to debate their opponents, they haven't even seen them since the primary. So it's gone in every election, so it shall be in the future. Jay Lewis, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
Well, I tell you, it's wonderful for people to constantly remember that they are in Vietnam. I think it gives us renewed emphasis and encouragement to bring them home, because sometimes we forget that men are fighting that war over in Vietnam. And those of you that have people over there, they remember it every minute, and the rest of us should keep it on our minds all of the time, because we're going to bring all of them home, and I hope we have all of them home in 1971.
Mrs. Jeffries, you're working on this thing. Your husband is in North Vietnam now. How vital is supporting our men to you?
It's very vital. They're always running the Hana radio programs to them twice a day, and all they ever do is tell about the dissension in the United States. And I think we need to get behind our men. They put their lives on the line for this country, and I think we ought to show them some support.
we first went to the site, we and a representative of the fire department and the building inspector's staff, and visited this regrettable scene, and determined in our own mind then thereafter by considerable study and review of parallel codes that the present code is adequate in that it provides two means toward safety once a person has exited his own front door or door. And I note at this point that the original building there where this Parker incident occurred was built under an earlier and considerably less restrictive code than we now work under.
Have been listening to what the mayor has told us, that one of the reasons that they can't provide any more money for Fair Park homeowners was because of the increased cost to the taxpayers. And what we're saying is, if they can do it for one, why not for others?
Well, now, in the past, we've had court suits or court cases where the Fair Park homeowners have been given equitable settlements. Do you feel that this has been unfair, or do you feel that we should have more of them, or exactly what are you asking?
Well, I don't think there have been equitable settlements for the Fair Park homeowners, on maybe in a few cases, but not for all of the homeowners. They have not received fair prices even in the commissioner courts. Some of the commissioner courts even gave less than what the city had offered, which was not fair at all.
Well, what do you really expect the city to do now?
Well, whatever if they're going to do something about other, like the crossroads and for the city hall, I feel like they could do something about homeowners.
Marijuana, or do you have the hard drugs in the young people as well?
Well, of course, with the very young, with the elementary school, they have found the marijuana and the glue sniffing most.
Is this widespread in Tarrant County?
It's very widespread. It's really horrifying when you realize how widespread it is, and also when you realize that there are a great many people who don't want to get off it. I mean, we had students who just definitely say that they don't want to get off it.
The nurse uses a pressure gun. The shot is really harmless, and compared to the needle, you can hardly feel it. So I can't see why any of these young people would complain. No. For WFAA News, this is Jess Brown.
They found children even 10 years old using drugs.
In Tarrant County?
In Tarrant County. A 10-year-old girl was found last summer in the park. And of course, do you call glue sniffing a drug? Because some of the effects are just as bad, and some of these young children are glue sniffing in a big way.
The youngsters here at David G. Burnett School are among 200,000 in Dallas County that should be immunized. The purpose of the county-wide program is to stop rubella, or what mothers call little measles. German measles runs in cycles of about 6 years. The measles won't hurt the child, but will hurt his unborn brother or sister. 6 years ago, 60,000 children were born deaf, blind, or otherwise deformed. 20,000 young people died.
Well, we want to wait until the committee meets with the city council, and once that has been done, and if the city council makes no action, or at least if they adopt the committee report that was presented today, and they do not adhere to Mr. Parker's request, then we will seek an injunction.
Now, you say you are not happy with today's report. In what way specifically are you not happy with it?
Specifically, today's report rejects the requirement of a rear door in apartment units.
A telegram was sent to Mayor Eric Johnson and the city councilman, and it reads as follows. In view of the fact that Fair Park property owners have been told by the mayor that one of the difficulties in getting them a more equitable settlement for their land is the increased cost to the taxpayers. We regret that the city council feels compelled to seek to provide additional funds for a new city hall and the Crossroads Community Center at additional cost to the taxpayers, yet fails to provide the necessary funds for the Fair Park homeowners.
5 buildings, as you recall, were originally scheduled to be built, of which only 2 were able to get under construction because of, well, for the same reason City Hall figures changed. So, escalating cost of construction. We're building the core services building, which is the basic building, the main building where most of the social services will be rendered. We're building the medical health component, still to be built, and I think of equal importance are the learning center, the daycare center, and the recreation building.
We feel great. This was a great victory for the Frogs. We feel that we had a great effort. It's a team effort, not only just from, say, the offense, but it was both offense and defense. We felt like our defense was outstanding from the standpoint that they put the rush on A&M's quarterback, and then we felt like our offense moved the football. So we had a good day.
Is there anything that you planned to do different that really worked for you?
We hadn't planned anything different except from a defensive standpoint. We wanted to put the rush on their quarterback, their passer, which we did. And then from an offensive standpoint, we wanted to run straight at them and move the football, in which we did for 400 and something yards. So this is the only thing that actually we planned.
Coach, it's an early season, really. You lost one to Arkansas. Now you won this one. Next week, I believe you have a week off this next weekend. Then you go against Baylor. How about the Bears?
Well, of course, you know, in this conference, they all have good football teams. We have a lot of respect for Baylor. I'm glad that we have an off week so that we can get some people well. We have several people that hurt, several that couldn't play against Texas A&M. So we feel that this week will do us good to get well and then be well prepared against a good Baylor team.
Now, we heard also in this commission the pleas of unity of the needs of special programs and the liberal arts program. And it was largely on the basis of these pleas and not of our own needs that we signed the minority report. I believe that these needs can be provided through Dr. Jordan's plan.
On this issue, gentlemen, we are not discussing management problems, rules and regulations for the use of campus facilities, for the maintenance of student order, for the sale of merchandise on campus, or any issue of an essentially administrative or fiscal sort. The question of college organization centers on and is confined to questions that are clearly and fundamentally of a scholarly, academic, and educational character concerning the nature of knowledge, the most effective means by which it may be acquired, the means of acquiring it, the way to stimulate the greatest creativity through the juxtaposition of areas.
I'm not concerned about how I look, but I am concerned about whether what this man is saying against this council has any validity at all. And if it has, I want him to name names. I don't want him to...
let me say it.
Well, name the name, sir. I don't care how it looks.
I'm ready when you are, Councilman. Senator, have you seen the report? Mr. Knowles' report? Yes, I've got one right here. I haven't seen it. No. You can pass this one around. Where did you get your copy? I'm not at liberty to say where I got it.
Most of these systems would be put in university campuses, airports, medical centers, and naturally in downtown areas where the movement of traffic is a problem at this time, or any other place where there is a traffic problem.
You've been talking for some time about the possibility of putting such a system in downtown Fort Worth or downtown Dallas. How do the prospects look at this moment?
Department of Transportation seems to feel that this sort of a plan would be most appropriate in any major city where it can be proved that a system like this would serve a definite purpose and carry the people from perimeter into and around the downtown area as an inner circulation system.
Do you consider yourself to be at the mercy of the telephone company or any other utility company?
No, sir, I do not, for this reason. While my actual staff of employees numbers only 2 besides myself, I have available large fields of expertise contained in the present city administrative staff. These people include certified public accountants, registered professional engineers, certain attorneys, and all of these people work with me when necessary.
So you don't consider yourself to be a captive of anyone then?
No, sir.
Are you prepared to present evidence of...
At this time, when nothing has been presented to this council, and you are the rate-making body that will have to decide it in a public...
We'd like you to point to members of the council and you think we're delusional instead of city council, but I think that's probably a rather small point. Now, when I talked to Councilman Allen, and I called Councilman Allen, I discussed this with him, and I told him it was impossible for me to defend the state.